This is Holly with CS3, and today we want to talk about risking your business. When you spend your day in the world of human resources or office management, much of your role is to identify, hire, and retain the people the organization needs to achieve its goals. But another huge piece of your function is to ensure that your organization is not risking their business, which takes us to the numerous laws and regulations that HR professionals must be aware of to avoid costly fines and harm to the organization's reputation. So we're going to hit on some more of those significant ways that you can stay compliant. First, you need to make sure that you are familiar and up to date with all state and federal labor laws that apply to your organization. Now, these regulations can change by state and the size of your organization, so take some time to familiarize yourself with all aspects of labor law. I want to talk about a couple of different sections, and we're going to start with the anti-discrimination laws. The first big one is the Civil Rights Act of 1964, or Title VII, and that prohibits employment discrimination because of race, color, religion, or national origin, or sex. Another big one is the ADA, later named the ADAAA, and that prohibits employers from discriminating against individuals based on the basis of disability. And that word disability means many different things to the ADA, and so make sure that you're really familiar with what they mean by disability and how far that can span. A couple of other big ones are the ADEA, which protects workers who are 40 years or older from discrimination based on age. And then we have GINA, that guards against employment discrimination because of genetic information. And then USERRA prohibits discrimination based on military service and also provides job protection while individuals are serving in the military. A couple of other big ones are wage and hour and leave laws. So one of the major ones is the FLSA, which is the Fair Labor Standards Act. And the FLSA sets minimum hourly wage, the minimum training wage, overtime hours, and rates. It also encompasses all those child labor laws, including minimum ages, and the types of jobs that minors are allowed to work. So the federal minimum wage right now is $7.25 per hour, but many states have their own minimum wage. So make sure you know what it is for your area and the area that your employees work in. Another big one is the FMLA, which is the Family Medical Leave Act, and that grants eligible employees the right to take up to 12 weeks of unpaid family or medical reasons without losing their job. Some other laws to be aware of are your immigration laws, and so that is the Immigration and Nationality Act as well as the Immigration Reform and Control Act. Both of those aim to ensure that employers are only hiring those that are eligible to work in the United States. So that's when we have our I-9s come into play. I'm sure you've heard of the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. That imposes various requirements on employers regarding health care coverage and minimum value coverage. So although the ACA no longer includes that individual mandate, the majority of the plan is still in effect. So you do not want to overlook those deadlines and reporting requirements because they are having an impact on many employers. OSHA requires employers to provide employees with a workplace free from hazards. So if you have 10 or more employees, you're required to keep key records for the OSHA administration. So some of these things might have changed. The initiatives are a little bit in limbo with the administration change, but as an HR professional, you should keep a careful eye on the new record keeping and recording requirements that may come into play for OSHA. And then finally, if you have 10 or more employees, you're required to submit an EEO-1 report to the Department of Labor annually. The EEO-1 report has also changed a bit and will be changing in the future, so make sure you do some research on that as well. The next big piece I want to talk about is your recruiting processes. Many of the labor laws come into play here, including EEOC, the Civil Rights Act, federal and state and local laws, which prohibit employers from asking for information that reveals certain things that you can discriminate against, again, like race, religion, marital status, disabilities, those type of things. So a couple of things that you can do to make sure you're in compliance is, number one, develop those job descriptions. Determine what your job requirements are and are those job requirements really needed for those jobs. And then classify your jobs as either exempt or not exempt, which brings us back to the FLSA. Also, when you're interviewing your candidates, be consistent If you do a phone screen with one applicant, follow that same pattern with all of your other ones. Use the same interview tool for each phase of the process. And then, of course, avoid those questions that can be construed as discriminatory, like where were you born? Are you disabled? How many children do you have? That sort of thing. I hope that this was helpful to you to kind of go through and review how you can make sure that you are not risking your business. And I would love to talk to you about any of this information